This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on the afternoon safari. We're starting here at Gowrie Dam with a beautiful herd of Inyala standing in the shade. I wish I was in that shade because it's hot. But welcome, my name's John T. We got Kat on the camera and we're going to be exploring Djuma this afternoon and see what we can find. I think we'll probably try go back to where those lions were that we didn't make it to this morning and see what they get up to. But I'm sure this first hour or two we'll probably just be dodging the sun and going from shady spot to shady spot. Please remember to send through all your questions and comments using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. And if you're under the age of 18, pop us a mail on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. You can register on the WildEarth website, head over to the channel page, and you can submit your questions there. So whilst we were driving down here, we saw a big herd of impala on quarantine, also in the shade. There's a male Inyala up ahead in the shade. But then there's one very bizarre, is it an Inyala over there? That's in the middle of the sun. Well, it's not actually in the middle of the sun, it's in the middle of the grass with the sun beating on it. Actually a couple and some impala. This is so weird. Each to their own, I suppose. Yeah, you can see that's a female Inyala just feeding out in the open there. And I think it'll be a bit tricky for the camera to get to, but a bit further behind her there's some impala also moving around in the open. It's amazing, I can hear Tess from here. BK must be enjoying that volume level on the same vehicle. Good afternoon, Esther. Thanks for joining. It is a very, very beautiful afternoon. It is incredible how the sound travels. Okay, but I'm going to start driving because it's starting to get a bit too warm here. So I think what we'll do is go all the way down, maybe check Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, see what's happening at the waterholes first, because those lions I'm sure are not doing a great deal. But we had a insider info. Someone arrived today driving from Ngala and saw two members of the Birmingham Pride just waltzing around in the middle of the day, so you never know what these lions are going to get up to. we carry on down towards Twin Dams. You're going to have a look at the weather for this afternoon.
I call the weatherman's bluff today. Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's way hotter than 30 degrees Celsius, and that's why Jonty and I want to stick to the shade today. My name is Tess. I'm going to be your guide on safari here this afternoon. Behind the camera is VK, and we are bumbling, much like Jonty, but we are headed down Central Road. We've come from Mvubu Road, so we've checked a bit of the drainage line there, and my plan for the afternoon is to carry on straight down Central Road and see if we can maybe find some tracks of Tlalamba. So I have this weird feeling that Tlalamba might be somewhere in the drainage lines close to the lodge. Very similar to when I was here with Rexon in December. She would sneak up to us in the drainage line and we wouldn't even know that she was in the drainage line in front of camp. And the only reason we knew something was up was because there was a lot of alarm calling every day, and that's exactly what I've had for 2 or 3 days now. Outside of my bedroom I can hear alarm calling, but I can't see anything that they're alarm calling at. And I'm wondering if she's on one of those big loops again, where she comes back from Guaripan and she loops to quarantine back to the drainage line. Because there have been an array of leopard tracks recently, it could be. So we figured it might be a good day to go and see if Tlalamba is out and about anywhere. I'm just crossing Giraffe Crossing now, which is one of the bigger crossings on Central Road. And so far we haven't found any tracks this afternoon, but the plan for the entirety of the afternoon is not just Tlalamba, of course. I'll be looking for some insects, some birds. I'll be doing a bird challenge with you again later for our bird calls. If I find anything unusual, I'll also possibly ask you to ID some birds. That would be fun. Get everybody involved. And of course also looking for things like elephants, buffaloes, warthogs, hippos. And so on my bumble today, I'm going to be checking Buffelshoek Dam, I'm going to Chitwa Dam. I'll just be looking around. Oh, Kenneth, you're bringing back my dreams from last night with Mawati. I actually dreamt about him and Tlalamba last night. After seeing him in the dark for so long, I feel like it was an absolute dream come true. So to see Mawati in daylight, I think would be the next best thing that could happen after Tlalamba's comes. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for reminding me, Kenneth. That's very kind. So it was certainly a very hot start to our afternoon. I don't know how much the animals are going to be out and about, like you saw with the herd of nyalas of Jonty. They're pretty much hanging out in the shade. We're going to be doing shade hopping and dam hopping today. The best of both, just to see what else we can find. Alright, let us carry on looking for some tracks. So I'm approaching a road called Hyena Road, and after this we go to Nyala Road, which is my absolute favorite road on the entire reserve, and it hugs one of the very big drainage lines, and I'm hoping that around here we might start getting lucky. Because it's hot, the animals might be around the drainage lines, particularly things like elephants, lions, leopards. I started off my day the right way with dark mane this morning, so I feel like it's been lucky yesterday and today. I'm wearing a lucky shirt, so we'll see how it goes. Hello, fork-tailed drongo. Never mind. It might come back. Yes. A little fork-tailed drongo to start the day. So beautiful in this light. I'd love to see if it calls with all the other birds calling around us.
60 seconds, 60.
I think it would be very nice to hear a fork-tailed drongo calling this afternoon. It's one of those lovely birds that mimics so many others. So oftentimes when we can hear a chorus like we are now, birds all around us, you might hear a drongo mimicking. How beautiful are those colors in this light. I love seeing fork-tailed drongos, especially, being active on hot days. One of the few that is.
Good afternoon and welcome to Eco Training Pridelands. At the moment we are looking at a marula tree. I'm staring up into the canopy of a tree and looking for fruits. At the moment these trees are loaded with fruits. But when you do start looking for the fruits, you'll actually notice that it's only the female trees which actually do carry fruit. They're one of the very few tree species which actually has separate sexes. So my name is JP LaRue and behind the camera we've got Morgan. And one of the interesting cultural associations, because of the reason that these plants have separate sexes, is that in African culture they believe that you can actually determine the sex of an unborn baby by simply bathing in the leaves of either a male or a female tree. We also find that the tree also plays a very important role when it comes to quarrels in African culture. And if you're a newly married couple and you do have some disputes, the elders are going to tie you to this tree and you've got till sunset to then sort out your indifferences. I think if you live out here and there's leopard, hyenas and all kinds of other things that do walk around in light, that's a very good reason to start sorting out those indifferences before the sun does go down. I just love marulas and I love their fruit. And one of the things I really like about it is the jam as well as the beer. It's been quite a while since I've last had the beer, but it's quite potent and it does leave you with a pretty big headache. And what you will also find is that it does sometimes leave you with a little bit of an upset stomach. It's not the only plant that we use for making beer out here. We also make a beer or wine from lala palms, which is one of the palm species which it grows throughout the region. And what they do with the palms is they actually make a fire around the base of a tree and then tap the sap out of there and then add yeast and a number of other things to start the fermentation process. It's also equally potent, and that's also given me a pretty big headache in the past. Good afternoon, Mayo. And when it comes to things like detoxing, I actually don't recommend any herb. If we do look at it out of a sports nutrition background, there's a lot of things that you can probably use, but most people say water is the best thing to actually detox your system with. I would actually be quite skeptical to actually also use anything out here that I'm not familiar with. And we also quite often find that some of the plant species out here can actually help, but it also has certain side effects which can be detrimental to your well-being. But if you are going to plan to do a detox, I think it's always best to actually go and consult a medical practitioner, that they actually will give you a plan to follow. In the meanwhile, let's go to Jonty and see what he and his elephant is up to.
Okay, we're just busy repositioning. We're trying to stay with these elephants, but also stay in the shade. It's going to be a bit of a bum show to start, but next to that elephant is a very small calf. It's just moved off to the left. So cool. These elephants are busy chatting to each other. There's one we can hear a ways off to the left. I love that sound. Okay, while they're standing, I'm going to try reposition just in front of this little bush here. It looks like there might be a gap. Jasmine, I think after all the years that they've been eating them, I think it's something that they definitely used to, and that stomach rumbling and constant gargling, that's sort of just what comes with being an elephant. But it's cooking. Okay, let me try. Oh, it's a tricky spot this. But I'm just going to reverse a little bit, and I think we'll get another gap through here if we thread the needle. It's a new thing, doing safari in reverse. It's okay, Mom. So yeah, I don't know if you saw the way the mom reacted there. That was a little bit of a, she's just saying, please stop everywhere. And we'll listen to her, so you just switch off. That's a really cool thing about watching elephants. If you spend time with them, you'll see their small little changes in their body language let us know what to do or what not to do. And now she just walked behind a very big bush. This is interesting. It's something to bear in mind. When I was reversing now, you want to try and not reverse straight at animals or drive straight at them. Obviously that's quite a confrontational thing. And the back of the car, imagine it's like a big square. So if all of a sudden that's now going towards the elephants, they might think that you're actually trying to threaten them. So you always want to try and drive. They always tell you when you do your training, you want to try and drive angles as if you're going to go past them. And you find that they sort of calm down a bit more that way. Okay, so I'm actually going to go quite a bit further up in a spot where we can just park and hopefully let them just walk towards us, because there's more than those elephants here. There's a whole lot up here, and maybe they're going to come up towards these marula trees. Thank you, Ella. I don't know if pro is the word I'd use, but we're getting there. They're already in there. They're going to make us work. Okay, I think I've just had a car crash. You're going to head over to Tess, who's looking at the beautiful bush. Yeah, there's a bit of a tree stump there.
John, that's what you get for bragging about your driving skills. So I stopped because there was a butterfly. And now it's flown away. So I'm going to have to carry on. But there is a beautiful little, it's called an African migrant, which is the slightly greenish yellow little butterfly. And unfortunately it has flown away. But absolutely beautiful. I have got a dragonfly that's kind of following me around, but I don't know if we'll be able to get that either. But definitely a lot more insects than we've been used to in the last while. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, there goes the dragonfly. It seems that we're struggling to get the insects to sit still today. They forgot their etiquette lessons. Their on-screen etiquette. No, but in all seriousness, I'm hoping that we do get some insects that are actually going to sit still for us today. I was so excited when I saw a butterfly land in the road, and it stayed for a while and stayed for a while, and then as you were coming to us it flew away. Poof, into the wind. So I'm carrying on with my search for Tlalamba. I am just about to arrive at Quarry Pan. Clara, yes, we do get some butterfly species that are poisonous. The most well known is probably an African monarch. So that's the beautiful orange species with the black on its wings, a bit of white on the edges. And it's also one of the largest migrations in the world of any insect. And it migrates from here all the way up north and back again every single year. And they are actually poisonous. They've built up the toxins in their system from feeding on a poisonous plant called milkweeds. And in essence, what that has caused is over the many, many years, when I'm saying many years, I mean large-scale evolution, other butterfly species have now developed coloration to mimic the African monarch, so that they look like they are the poisonous African monarch, so that birds won't eat them. But of course, this doesn't always work, and some will know the difference. But yes, probably the most well-known poisonous butterfly is an African monarch. It's one of the most beautiful, fairly big. They can be about that big. And just really stunning. I don't think I've ever heard of somebody eating an African monarch in terms of people trying them. So I don't think it would be too toxic for us. But certainly the birds won't like to eat those. Hello, leopard tracks. Told you it was a lucky day, BK. Okay, so we have indeed got some leopard tracks down the right-hand track in amongst a whole bunch of impala tracks and hippo tracks. And this, believe it or not, I'm actually going to ask BK to frame on this lovely African wattle. This is one of Tlalamba's favorite hideouts and initially one of her first den sites as well. There's actually an old track that goes down into the drainage line here. This is the drainage line just south of Quarry Pan. And she often used to hide her two cubs in this African wattle. And so I'm wondering if she might be around then, because her tracks, or a female leopard's tracks, are on the road here. Perhaps she went to fetch the cubs. How lucky would that be? So the tracks are actually up and down the road, which gives me the idea that she's been moving the cubs. I haven't seen any cub tracks yet. But we always, whenever we come here and we see leopard tracks, we check this African wattle in all of those nice little hiding spots at the bottom because it's so shady and there's some gaps. She used to like to lie in there with her cubs. So while we're here, I just want to quickly listen in case we can hear anything. She has a habit of bringing her cubs out in the heat of the day, and it's the perfect time. I can hear a cisticola that's alarm calling. So that's getting me quite excited, that cisticola calling in the background. I'm going to spend a little bit of time checking Quarry Pan around this area, and maybe if we're lucky we might be able to find Tlalamba today.
Good Good afternoon and welcome to Eco Training Pridelands. We were following up on some alarm calls of vervet monkeys a few minutes ago, and we were hopeful that our lions might have returned back onto Pridelands. However, they might have been spotted on the neighbouring property by the monkeys, but kept on calling. We eventually then decided that we were going to come and investigate what's going on at one of the dams and see what's happening here. As it's an incredibly warm day and the humidity is quite high, this is probably our best bet, is to spend some time over here for the afternoon and see who's going to pop in for a drink. We're just going to scan around and on the dam with a camera, as well as share the sounds of nature with you.
So we managed to find a spot that's a bit of a compromise. We're in the shade and the elephants are in the shade. I've got a feeling that little calf that we were trying to see is maybe resting in the shade there, because all of the elephants have stopped in that little patch of shade, and it's so awesome how they do that. When the little ones want to rest, the whole herd will just stand still and wait for them to get up, and then they'll carry on. One was having a bit of a dust bath. This one that's flapping its ears like that. You might see it throwing dust up onto its back. That's excellent. Keisha, thank you for your question and thanks for joining us. So their eyelashes, the eyelashes one, it's a very, very coarse hair. It's almost like a little cable. And it protects the elephant's eye. You can imagine a lot of times they're feeding in very spiny or thorny bushes. It's quite similar to the giraffe's eyelashes. If the elephant pushes its head into a bush, if those eyelashes feel something coming towards the eye, then they'll close. Okay, there is a marula tree next to us that's in the open. And let's hope that these elephants are slowly going to feed to it. The only problem is the side that's best for us to view is in the sun, so they might avoid it. I love watching the herd of elephants moving through when you just see trees being flung all over the place. While we wait out these elephants, Tess has found some creepy crawlies. She's in a swimming pool.
So I have seen quite a few more butterflies. Again, we can't get them to sit still, but I have found a lovely family of golden orb-web spiders. And it looks like the female hanging at the bottom. She looks like she's blowing in the breeze, so she hasn't attached herself fully to the web at this point. And then the male up at the top, and you can see the male is quite a lot smaller than the female. And this is normal for spiders in particular, but golden orbs have a large size difference male to female. Now this to me is probably one of the most indicative species out here in the Lowveld, a golden orb spider. We've hardly seen any spiders compared to usual, and in fact we've hardly seen any golden orb spiders, and I'm so happy to see that we've been seeing more of them in the last few days. These and bark spiders, and they are the ones that are most well known for building these magnificent silk webs, sometimes spanning meters and meters across. Now you'll see that there is a bit of a breeze, and that's why the female every now and then is blowing in the web. I'm not sure why she's just hanging upside down like this. Usually she would have attached herself quite firmly to the silk, but she just seems to be hanging. Glare bear, yes, spiders can eat other spiders. It's not as common as eating things like moths, butterflies, flies, all of the other insects that will fly through the web, but absolutely they might eat other spiders. Particularly with golden orbs, you might find if there are multiple males that come into the web of a female, she might choose a mate and then eat the others. So it sounds quite strange. So this was a lucky male. He made it through dinner time. But sometimes, yes, they will eat other spiders. This is actually quite a small female. So normally you would find, that a golden orb can reach pretty impressive sizes, especially the females. But this one I would say is maybe only 4 or 5 centimeters, which is why the size difference male to female doesn't look so big. But if you're looking at a really big female, they can be anywhere from 2 centimeters to closer to 20 centimeters if you include their legs. But I'd say the average is just over 10 centimeters. So this one's about a half-grown female, I would say. Looks quite peaceful hanging in that web. She's chosen a very good spot. This web actually spans between 2 silver cluster leaf trees, but she's done it in a way that it's also hanging from the top. There's an overhanging branch from a silver cluster leaf. So what this means is this gap is going to be really good for insects. The rest of the bush around us is quite dense, and so they'll be looking for the biggest gap to move through, and that's what she's hoping for. When a moth or a butterfly or a fly flies into her silk web, she'll feel it, and she'll be able to quickly run along the silk. She'll pull herself along the silk to wherever the vibration is coming from on the silk web, and then she'll be able to kill it. The male is looking quite interesting the way that he's perched at the moment. He looks like he's ready to strike. Sorry if you can hear a strange noise, it's my binoculars. They've got quite beautiful markings. especially that female. You can see really nicely all the way down her back and her legs. She's got the black and orange or yellow stripes, and then on her abdomen itself, quite a lot of white looking polka dots. But these are going to be much more prominent when she's bigger. But she's built a very intricate web. It's involving the grass. I can see even the grass seeds are involved there. So BK was actually wondering earlier if this female is alive. I haven't often seen a spider hang like this, but when we got here she was moving. So possibly just relaxing in the breeze, maybe? Yes, there's her legs moving. She's definitely alive. Hanging on below the male. Okay. So while I watch my spiders and see if they get to any new feeding, let's head over to Jonty, whose elephants are feeding.
So we managed to, we missed the one walk by, but we're in an even better spot now, I think. So I'm actually just going to keep quiet for a little bit and just let you enjoy these elephants feeding next to us. You'll see it's scherts. These ones are actually full of mud. Oh, I love where that stump is. Maybe it's Maybelline. That is funny. That's FC planting ideas in my head. But look at that skin. It's so wrinkly. Oh, Donna, they do, don't they? A little bit of imagination, but you can see it. It's interesting if you look at Asian elephants, their ears are also much smaller, but they're also quite funny in the shape of Asia. This one's got, see, it's got like that notch in its right ear, so it'll be quite recognizable, this one, through the years. We'll know if you're seeing the same one. Yeah, it is incredible, Karen, how they can hide like big grey ghosts moving through the bush, but also the vegetation is so thick at the moment. The grass is so tall, and also obviously all the trees are full of leaves, so when the elephants stand still behind a bush, they just completely vanish. So that one that's in the frame now, that's the mother of that small calf. Maybe we'll try once more. I'd love to see that little baby. It's so cute. Let me just get back in the chair. Okay, whoa. Okay, hold on. There's going to be a bit of a bump. Or not. Come on, Rusty. I'm just trying to get one more spot here. I was going to hope for that shade, but I don't think we're going to get it. So on the other side of this elephant is a small calf. That's what we're trying to have a look at. You probably find it's actually standing in the shade of the mom. She gone. Let's try get a better view. It's also amazing how fast they move. They look like they're walking so slowly. And they just leave us behind. Can you hear that one scratching?
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. While everybody is looking at the larger components of the ecosystem this afternoon, and we're waiting for some of the larger animals to come to our dam, we are looking at the smaller components of an ecosystem. At the moment, I'm busy looking at a dragonfly that we have over here. The species that we have right over here is known as a banded groundling, and this is the female of a species. The male has got beautiful black bands that are actually going through the wings, and these are probably one of my favorite dragonflies out here. as if they will often follow you when you are walking. And the reason why they follow you is as you're disturbing small little insects and things that we can't see, that is what they then will catch on the wing and then consume that afterwards. There's also a number of other interesting things that we did find out here in terms of insects this afternoon, and one of them is known as the African monarch butterfly, which is a beautiful orange, black and white colored butterfly. And they're incredibly toxic, and when they are caterpillars, they often will feed on the milkweed plants where they get their toxins from, and into adulthood they will actually carry this choriotoxins which they obtain from the plants to the adult form. Some of the things that I do find particularly interesting about them is that their coloration patterns also tells us that they are toxic. And we also find that there's a host of other butterfly species which also mimics them. And some of them are equally toxic while others are not toxic at all. But when you are copying somebody else who is toxic, you always have to be around in small numbers. Because if you try to wolf too often, they're going to start seeing through your plan and it's no longer going to work effectively. They actually did studies of it a few years ago, and they found that they fed birds that were feeding the monarch mimics in captivity, that they would eat them, and if they would feed them with African monarchs directly afterwards, they will decline the monarch mimic afterwards, as if they know that they are toxic and distasteful. There's a few other things I do find particularly interesting about the African monarch, and that is actually one of the mating rituals that they have. And we find that the males have two pencil-like structures at the base of the abdomen, which will dip into two glands that's on the base of a wing. And then they will rub this onto the antenna of a female, which will subdue her and provide them with the opportunity to mate with them. There's a few insects and other organisms where I know where this behavior takes place. And a similar behavior we actually find with one of our scorpion species which we have over here, which is known as a long-tailed rock scorpion. And there the males have incredibly long tails. And the reason why they've got this long tail is that they can inject some venom into the female to subdue her, that they can mate with her and eventually get away before she actually decides to eat them. While I was out and about this afternoon closer to home, I was also taking a short walk on one of the trails in the area where I was living. And I also noticed that there's a large amount of one of my other favorite butterflies, and those are brown veined whites. And they're actually very well known for their migration throughout South Africa. And they travel sometimes some 2,500 kilometers from the central Kalahari all the way into a northeasterly direction and eventually fly out over the Indian Ocean. I'll tell you a little bit more about them on another day. Let's go and see what the rest of the team is up to.
So I have found something quite unusual. We were driving along, and as we turned the corner, there's a community web spider's nest. Oh, that's loud, sorry. And it looks like the spiders are busy coming out at the bottom. Have a look at that. Now when we got here, there were probably 30 of them out all over the web, and they scurried back to the nest in the middle. And now they're all in the shade just underneath the nest. You can see them hanging there. And I have counted, I don't want to freak anybody out, but I've counted over 50 already. Between coming back, scurrying to the web, and then hanging out at the bottom, slowly moving one at a time. But look at that movement of the legs, it's like a wave. Unbelievable. Now these are normally nocturnal, so we don't often see them out during the day. But it's just so strange and a little bit scary looking with all of these spiders literally hanging out the bottom of this community nest. Now if you also look further down in the catch web, it's called a multi-angled catch web. It's designed to catch insects, and you can see there's quite a few skeletons in this web. Not actual bone skeletons, exoskeletons, the remains of insects hanging in this web. And what these spiders do, they work in a community, they eat together, they hunt together. As soon as an insect flies into this web, they'll come out and they kind of almost fight over it, and they usually just do the inside of the insect that they would eat, and then either the carcass, if I can call it that, the exoskeleton, stays behind, or it drops out of the web eventually. And all they're doing at the moment is waiting for their next prey. It looks like the variety of things hanging in the web include some bee species, there's a different spider species hanging there, there's some beetle species, a leaf hopper. It's just unreal. Just carcasses everywhere. But they would need to eat a lot of different insects to feed that many mouths. Sarah, I'm not going to lie to you, it gives me the heebie-jeebies as well. If you actually have a look on the side of the web, you can see there's one that's out with its back to us, and you can see, oh, there's two, they're busy eating a beetle. Can you see that, BK? On this side of the community web, on the nest, around about in the middle, the third up, you'll see there's two spiders that are busy eating a beetle there. Can you see them?
Yeah, see it?
Look at that, the spider's busy feeding on a beetle carcass. So it's holding the beetle and it's busy eating the insides. Whew, a live kill. That is crazy. So this is the most I've ever seen during the daytime hours on one nest. They're quite an unusual looking spider compared to all of the others. They're very light sandy color to blend in with the leaves and the debris that they put into the community nests to make it kind of strong on the outside so the birds can't pierce it. But then they've got this very unusual kind of black and white coloration down the side of the abdomen and towards the bottom. I can actually see one. There's one out on the other side of the web as well, BK, coming down towards the grass. Just behind that hanging wasp carcass. It's climbing back up. Looks like quite a struggle to climb up and down so much angular webbing. You can imagine there's just silk everywhere. Linda Poley, yes, I think we could consider this a spider cuddle puddle. It's a few too many legs for my liking. I don't think I'd like to join that cuddle puddle, but it's interesting to look at from a distance. BK and I were talking about it just now as Gotcha saying, I don't know how much you'd have to pay me to sit close to that web. Not even to touch it, just to sit close to it, I don't know. As much as I'm a naturalist and I love everything big and small, and I studied insects, I studied spiders and scorpions. I don't mind the really big ones, but the small ones and lots of them together like this, I think my brain is still trying to work out how to navigate that at close quarters. I can just picture spiders all over me. But it's an amazing predator. I mean, to evolve a community structure like this is almost unheard of in spiders. So it's one of the most unusual and unique species of spiders that we get here. All of the other spiders would be in, a pair for when they're mating or breeding, and then on their own, because it just takes too much effort to be a community predator. That's why also only lions are pride animals compared to all the other cats. Very similar concept. There's too many mouths to feed. It's too much energy usage to make such big webs and protect everybody. But here's a species that's adapted and absolutely overcome, and now they are dominating. And it really looks like they are. As much as they look like they're all resting, they're just waiting for something to touch that web. And then there'll be a frenzy of spiders, like when we got here. It looked like that was probably the beetle that one was feeding on. They were carrying it back. Rain slice, so it depends on the different insects, but there's quite a lot that will live for a long time. The best examples are some of the big spiders. The longest living spider out here is a baboon spider. Community web spiders as well might live for a few years if they're lucky. But in terms of insects themselves and not arachnids, probably one of the longest living out here would be something like an antlion. The antlion, with their life cycle, they can live over 20 years, which is quite crazy to think about for an insect. And then you get some that are a few days, something like the different species of flies. Some of the smaller flies are only alive for a few days, and then their natural life cycle is up. So yes, baboon spiders, dung beetles as well, antlions, golden orbs also live a good few years. Some butterflies as well, but most butterflies, I suppose, would be more seasonal. But it's unbelievable to think that something so small can live for so long. The problem with being small out here is that you're an easy bite-sized snack for most animals. Whether it's an eagle or whether it's a bird, or even some of the smaller predators like caracals, mongooses as well. DT, you're asking if these spiders are harmful to humans? No, they are not. Luckily for us, they are not venomous. So as much as it might be really strange to walk into this community web spider nest, we wouldn't really have to worry about them killing us or resulting in a medical trip to the hospital. But I think it's just the thought of having 100 spiders on you that's probably not so good for the mental health and the emotional stability. I don't know how much emotional stability I'd have if all these spiders were on me. But no, they're BK is laughing at me. They're harmless to humans, luckily. There aren't many spiders out here that are very harmful to humans. I think, sack spider is probably the most well-known one. It looks very similar to this and a very similar size as well. But they live on their own usually. And unfortunately, we tend to find them in the creases of our curtains and things like that. So that is unfortunately one of the venoms that will eat at your flesh. But these are nice and harmless, so I don't mind sitting here watching them.
So we've come down by Twin Dams. We're in this very, very good shady spot, and we're just enjoying these male impala. And then there's a male inyala. And let's just take a chance to just sit quietly and enjoy the sounds of the bush. just enjoying this spot of shade, but did you see that those wasps there, Gert? I told Gert, don't go anywhere near them. But it looks like paper wasps, but that's a beetle that's on that, which is which I'm sort of puzzling over a little bit. It also looks like it's missing legs. So I've just got the old insect book open here. I don't know. I'm trying to read and see if it says they dismember beetles. Sounds like a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the distance. There's an elephant trumpeting. Something making it unhappy. I know that these insects are Tess's strength. No, Terry, you certainly don't. These things will sting you. So sore. It was one of these, I was telling a story the other day, that went down my shirt in a sighting. But maybe we must pose the question to Tess if they eat beetles, and that is pretty radical. In the insect book I've got here, it doesn't say. I know they do feed on other sort of little insects, but I didn't know it got up to beetles, because I'm trying to think how did they like all hold on to it together and fly it up there as a team, or did one do that? Or is that beetle there feeding on their eggs, maybe? I don't know, but they would then defend their nest. They would be quite aggressive. What is that wasp? You see, it's got like that green stuff. Is it pushing that into one of those holes? Brenda, I must say, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I would love to go and sort of have a much closer look and see what is actually happening there, but I definitely don't want to go and upset those wasps. And I can't really get to where it is, so it's... What I'll do is I'll ask Tess if she knows what's going on here. This is what she studied. The insect lady. The guide version of the cat lady. It's so nice and peaceful here in the shade. There you go. Tess is saying that they do eat beetles, but it just looks so big. That male Inyala. They must get hot in summer. They just look so furry. Okay. Someone was asking this morning about the biggest thing that we've seen leopards take down. You can see how big that Inyala is compared to the impala. And I saw a male leopard catch a fully grown male Inyala like that. Ridiculous. He didn't put it in a tree though. He ate it on the ground. I'd actually say they're probably quite similar, but the difference is a wasp can give you multiple stings. So if a bee hits you, its sting comes out. Obviously, the dangerous part of that is that releases a pheromone, which then makes the other bees sort of go for you. But a single wasp can sting you multiple times, so it can feel very, very cheeky. So I need to do a bit more research on these paper wasps. This one thing says they generally eat caterpillars. Some says they feed on nectar, other sugary solutions such as honeydew and the juices of ripe fruits. And they also feed on bits of caterpillars or flies that are caught and partially chewed before presenting to their young. The problem is this is all stuff that could be quite general to paper wasps that were found in other parts of the world, not necessarily these ones here. Because I certainly don't think that beetle's just hanging out there.
They are very fascinating wasps to watch. One of the most unusual in South Africa for sure. I have just left Quarry Pan Road. There are more leopard tracks coming off of Quarry Pan Road, so there's most certainly been a leopard around here recently. Indeed. Leopard tracks going towards the dam as well. So I'm going to check Buffelshoek Dam. There's a few nice drainage lines around there as well. So I'm going to be checking those and then Cheetah Cut Line just to see what is happening with these tracks, because I've now seen 3 sets of tracks. One set going south, one going this set is going north, the other set was going west. So possibly doing a bit of looping around the area, maybe looking for some food, maybe taking the cubs for a stretch of the legs if it is Tlalamba. To me, it would be her in this area because it is a female leopard's tracks. But you never know. So we're just checking along very slowly. We've seen a lot of different insects out, which is fantastic. A few glimpses of birds, not many. But I did find myself, look at this on the light, a lilac-breasted roller's feather. Look at that. And how beautiful is that coloration? Like that? So look how the color changes as I move the feather. That's definitely from a lilac-breasted roller. How beautiful is that bright blue? So it's a very happy find for me. I think one of the most beautiful feathers I've seen, with the blue on one side and the black and white on the other. So I was very happy to find this in the road. I needed a new pointer, and the feather presented itself. But I love the light changing on the feather as it goes. I think I could stare at that color blue pretty much all day. Very luminous.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. A little bit earlier we were talking about a butterfly that is known as a brown vein white. And I was actually talking about the whole migration that this insect will take. And they roughly fly some 2,500 kilometers from the west of the country towards the in a northeasterly direction. And on their journey, we'll also find that they often stop off on a number of different plant species, which is all related into a family which is known as a caper family. And for us in the western part of South Africa and the Kalahari, that's quite often the shepherd's tree, which they will utilize. And then further eastwards, shepherd's trees slightly become less and less, although we do have them in this area. But then here they also go for woolly caper bush and a number of other species on which they will lay their eggs. As with most butterfly species, we find that the adults are very picky about on which plants they lay their eggs. And the reason is that the larvae has adopted to actually exploit a certain plant species and utilize that as a food source while it's busy growing. In some cases, we also find that some of the larvae or the caterpillar itself will actually obtain a number of different toxins by feeding on those plants and then carry that over to adulthood. And one of those that we were discussing a little bit earlier was African monarch butterfly, which often will utilize milkweed plants for that specific reason. Oh, as we're talking about migrations, what determines a species to be a migratory species compared to a random erratic movement is that migrations are always determined on a specific route. They always tend to be at a specific time of year, and we also find that they will always be repeated. In the case of a butterfly, it's not really always repeated because the adults fly out to sea and nobody really knows what happens to them in the case of a brown and white. But when it comes to our African monarch butterflies, they quite often incorrectly refer to as migrants. They do not migrate, unlike their cousins, which we find in the United States, which is known as a American monarch butterfly. And those guys are well known to do in excess of 3,000 kilometers. If you are curious, what is the longest movement of the insect? It's actually a locust. And there was a group of locusts which actually swarmed halfway over the Atlantic Ocean at some 4,500 kilometers. What happened to them? I'm not 100% sure. Well, we're also out here, we're also looking at one of the plant species over here. This is a very young little apple leaf that is growing over here. And we can see that they've got these classic 3 individual leaflets. And this plant often gets utilized by another insect out here, which is known as a large spittlebug, which will actually suck on the sap of this plant and then excrete the excess sap onto the ground. And then that will be again reabsorbed by the plant itself. We've actually seen a number of the members of the spittlebug family out here, and I can actually see one right now. We're going to try our very best to actually get onto them. And this one that's over here, it just disappeared. Let me see if it's going to pop out again. And that's actually known as a banded mulva. Where is he? It's actually a few millimeters in size. It's unfortunately now disappeared behind the grass. And these spittlebugs would actually leave, their nymphs will actually leave these little spittle-like structures on the grasses. If I do see him again, I'll tell you a little bit more about him. But in the meanwhile, coming back to the plant over here, we do know that apple leaves in the past actually have been used as an alternative for spinach. Well, the mature plants actually has a very thick leathery leaf. You actually will notice that the leaves are quite soft. And when you do break the leaves of a mature plant in your hand, it actually sounds like the crunching of apples that are being eaten. This tree is also quite often used for quite a wide range of other purposes. And one of those uses is actually to use the toxin that's found in the root, which is known as rotenone. And rotenone is probably one of the best known fish toxins out here. And one of the interesting practices that I have heard about when it comes to rotenone, other than just catching fish, is actually poisoning dams that are full of invasive fish species. And then they will actually restock them with indigenous fish species afterwards. You don't really want invasive fish species in your environment, as these can quite often have a detrimental effect on the indigenous fish species and the whole ecology of a water body. When it also comes to plant toxins, there's a host of other plants that we can use out here. One of my favorite plants is actually flowers, is actually a impala lily, and they generally tend to actually flower in the winter months. They are too used for fish poison, as well as in the past have been used for arrow poisons, for actually killing animals by traditional hunters that would then shoot them with that specific arrow that has been treated with those toxins. That is often consisting out of a number of different toxins for which there's also no antidote. And we also find tambuti, as well as a number of cactus-looking like plants out here, which is known as euphorbias, to all be utilized for that specific purpose. A few months ago, I also did show a little plant which is known as a mundilia. I'm just thinking of what the common name is. Yes, corkbush. And the corkbush is actually one of the most toxic plant toxins out here. They reckon that it is so toxic that you can even kill small little crocodiles if you do put that toxin into a water body. And there's a number of other ones that I've also found particularly interesting. Torchwood is one of the toxins that we have out here. Plants where the toxins of the seeds gets used for killing snails and sometimes tadpoles and small little fish in water bodies. But very specifically, the plant seeds is also used for cleaning water so that you can purify it and safely drink it. Good afternoon, Kelly, and thank you very much for that comment. And one thing that I do know is that I always have a favorite, and there's always another favorite and another favorite and another favorite. And I just love learning about all these amazing things out here. And that's one of the things that has actually been keeping me motivated over the years as a guide. And especially the fact that I quite often discover that I actually don't know very little. And the more I learn, the more I discover that the less I actually know. And that drives me to actually learn more about the amazing little things that make up this whole ecosystem. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get some larger animals soon now that the temperatures are cooling down. Maybe they'll pop in for a drink, or we'll find them somewhere along the route between one of the dams. But in the meanwhile, let's go and see what Jonty is up to.
Good luck, JP. We are actually around the dam. We're around twin dams, but we've dropped down into the Nwati River to just get a closer look at these impala. That impala is coughing. I suggest we put some sort of face mask on it. Can't be wandering around just coughing freely like that these days. Yeah, whenever I see impala standing in grass, like I said, it's a horrible thought, but it reminds me of a sighting I had where a python shot out and grabbed an impala this size, the ones that were sort of closest to us, and just wrapped itself around it and ended up, well, it killed it and then swallowed the whole impala. Very, very big snake. And I said at the beginning of this stint here at WildEarth, I'd love to see a big python again. To hear that elephant trumpeting. Sorry, Mark, I just missed a part of that. Is that something about getting used to the sun in the bush? Our skin. Mark, I don't know if it gets used to it. My wife was a guide, and to this day, if she goes into the sun, she goes a slightly brighter red shade of pink, and then is red the next day, and then completely white again on the third day. So I don't know if her skin ever got used to the sun. For me, I'm a little bit lucky. You wouldn't tell from looking at me, but I've got some Mediterranean blood in me, so it does take me a bit longer to burn. But certainly the areas that are exposed more often, like the forearms, it's bad, I never put sunscreen on my forearms, but like the areas that are a bit more sensitive, the upper arm and my neck, that'll obviously get burnt. But I don't know if you might feel like you're in control of it, but the sun has got a lot of power. I remember we went on a canoe trip down the Orange River, and our guide, shame, he was a young man, and I think he thought he was being cool, but he never put a shirt on. And we were out in the sun all day, every day for 4 days. And he just does back-to-back trips. And some of the days it was 40 degrees. This guy's back, he looked like a saddlebag with hair. And he was like 24 years old. So he claimed he got used to the sun, but jeepers, he got worked by it. I wouldn't advise doing that. I think it's those elephants we saw earlier. I heard one sort of communicating now. I'm hoping they might be coming down to the dam.
So we have just arrived at Buffelshoek Dam. Now this is the area where the leopard tracks were coming to. And it seems very calm here, so I'm wondering, the leopard tracks look like maybe from last night. Wondering maybe if the leopard moved through and carried on. But we are appreciating a beautiful blacksmith lapwing on the dam wall. And it seems like a very tranquil afternoon. So while we're here, we're going to use the opportunity to listen and just scan around the dam a bit. We can hear quite a few different birds calling, and I think it's a lovely time to just have a quiet moment together. This is one of those areas, I think this dam in particular, where I could sit for the whole afternoon on a hot day, find a patch of shade and sit and listen. With the drainage line, with the water and wading birds. The perfect spot to watch life come and go on a hot afternoon. So I've been reminiscing about the last time myself and BK were here at Buffelshoek Dam, and he did some amazing camera work following an Egyptian goose that was very grumpy with some white-faced whistling ducks, and even a grey heron. So we've been scanning the dam. We can't seem to find any of those characters here today, except for our resident blacksmith lapwing on the dam wall. I can't see a heron, even the pied kingfisher doesn't seem to be here. Perhaps it's so hot that the animals, even the birds, are still relaxing in the shade somewhere. And also towards the top end of the dam, there's a bit of a cove that we can't really see, so maybe they're hiding out there somewhere. But the blacksmith lapwing is being quite entertaining. It's hunting up on the dam wall. Now, the only two dams where we often see the blacksmith lapwing on the wall itself is Chitwa and here at Buffelshoek Dam. And it's quite entertaining to watch because we can almost feel a bit more eye level with the blacksmith lapwings instead of looking down onto the edges of the dam. So it's a nice different perspective on hunting. Benny, it is pretty cool watching them hunt. They're pretty accurate predators. There you can see all it's doing is it walks slowly along. It stands very still when it starts to see movement, and then it'll quickly dip its head down to pick up any insects like that. So they'll eat majority smaller invertebrates, so not necessarily just insects, even small spiders and things, I'm sure. And then, of course, aquatic ones as well, things like water beetles. If they're lucky, maybe a small tadpole here and there. But mostly it will be invertebrates, so things that have a skeleton on the outside. Quite large fans of termites as well, if they can find them. Also particularly good at sorting through dung. You can see there's some dung there. Been picked apart. Now, I haven't seen the partner, which to us is a bit unusual. We normally find blacksmith lapwings in a pair. They're monogamous. And I haven't seen the other one at all in the whole area. But maybe it's down next to the water where we can't see it somewhere as well. Now, we had the leopard tracks coming towards this area, so I'm thinking instead of going straight towards Buffelshoek Cutline and Cheetah Cutline from here, what I should actually do is take maybe Hippo Pools Road or the link road from Buffelshoek Dam to Cheetah Cutline, because that's one of the drainage lines where we have seen Tlalamba with the cubs, and it looks like the tracks are headed that way. So it might be worthwhile taking the road less travelled when we leave here a little bit later, just to see if there are any other fresh tracks. I can tell you it is an absolute relief to be sitting at Buffelshoek Dam in the shade, knowing that it's the first time in probably close on 10 days, if not more, maybe more, that we've had tracks of a leopard in this area. Tlalamba has been evading us. She's been moving over to Torchwood. And I'm really hoping we might get lucky today. It would be so good to see her. Even if we don't see the cubs. Cubs are a bonus. But it would be so good to just have an update on her, see how she's doing, how the cubs are doing. And the theory is, because Thandi has kind of moved out of this area and she's moved more towards the south of Torchwood and going down towards Chitwa, she hasn't been seen as much in this eastern sector. And so that might have been when Tlalamba started moving a bit further with the cubs. But now, recently again, we've been seeing Thandi on Cheetah Cut Line. We've been hearing about her further north in Torchwood. Maybe that's pushing Tlalamba back. So maybe Tlalamba's coming back towards the central part of Djuma because Thandi has started moving a bit more now that Maribs is becoming more independent. So Buffelshoek Dam is one of my favorite places to come and sit, especially on a hot afternoon if you can find a patch of shade. There's always something happening. I've seen a few ripples from a hippo coming up and down. There used to be quite a few in this dam, but now there's only, it seems like the one the last few times we've been here. Maybe the dominant male. But it's just such a peaceful area because we're right on the northeastern side of Djuma. And where we are, we've got quite a few drainage lines around us. It's a stunning area for birding. And of course, this is the dam closest to Buffelshoek, closest to Torchwood, so it's got a combination of both for us. And it's a very popular dam for the predators. So we often find their tracks coming along here. Rory, it's not really possible for adult birds to get sunburnt unless they've got a condition or have lost some of their feathers. So the feathers are a very thick protective layer over the skin. And so even when they are wet and they flay their wings, they dry so quickly that it's not really possible for the birds to get sunburnt. Where there is an exception to this rule would be baby birds. If you've got chicks in a cup nest or an open nest and they're in very direct heat, they could get heat stroke, not necessarily sunburn, although I'm sure that would be a possibility, but definitely they could overheat. So this is why nesting sites are so important. The birds think them through very carefully, they hide them very well, and you'll often find the orientation is according to the sun and where they're going to get the correct amount of sun that they need, not too much, not too little. But an adult bird, no, I wouldn't think so. The feathers are quite thick. They've got a reflective quality about them as well, which is why we see the colors so brightly. And actually feathers are shiny, although we see them as matte colors. They look shiny when you look at an individual feather. And that's reflecting a lot of the sun, so they won't really get burned. Birds need feathers to survive, so I'd imagine if a bird lost all of its feathers, it would probably die fairly shortly afterwards, unless it had very special care. Oh, how tranquil is it? It's so peaceful here. Now, funny enough, when we arrived, there was a testicular alarm calling, and just now I heard a squirrel alarm calling too. Mona, that sounds perfect. A cup of tea, I'd maybe trade that for coffee or wine. A book and a lounger. Sounds brilliant. It's a bit hot to be out in the sun tanning, but maybe when it starts cooling off, that would be good. But if you could find a nice spot in the shade here, I've always maintained if you're an avid birder, if you're one of those people that just likes to watch the world come and go and not actively, drive around looking for things, the best place you can do that is a nice shady spot next to a dam, and you'll be able to tick birds off with calls, with actually seeing them, and also other animals coming in and out the whole day. I'm hoping for some elephants if we stay here a little bit longer. I haven't heard any yet, but you never know. There were some signs of them in the east today. I can just imagine elephants lined up on the opposite bank, drinking, splashing. Jaunty and your Mediterranean skin. Well, I'm very happy that you don't have to put sunscreen on, Jaunty. I mean, my mom and my one brother are very olive-skinned. They naturally have lovely dark skin, and they, when they're in the sun, they go red, but they go brown quite quickly. I've always been the opposite. When I'm in the sun too much, I go red and then I peel, and I get itchy. But my biggest problem actually started with guiding. It's something that I'll actually try and show you. Let me just move in the vehicle. So BK, try your best to focus on the spots on my arm. Please ignore my hairy arms, everybody. I'm not one of those people that's going to wax my arms for no reason. So I've never waxed them. But you can see the little white spots all the way along my arms. And even some scarring on the top of my hands. Now, unfortunately, because of all the time that I've spent in the sun, I develop freckles quite easily. But I've developed something called polymorphic light eruption, which basically means if I'm in the sun for too long, even if I'm wearing factor 50, which I wear every day on every part of my body that sees the sun, if I don't keep putting it on consistently, I unfortunately break out in very itchy blisters, and they will then scar. So I actually don't do very well in the sun. But it's one of the compromises I'm willing to make. To be out here is way better than having very uncomfortable skin from the sun. So I'm one of those people that I'm very, very careful, especially with my face. But the areas that are most affected for me are the areas that are always in the sun. And that's because when I'm driving, my arms are up on the steering wheel. So they're parallel to the ground, which means they're unfortunately perpendicular to the sun. So the top surface of my arms, the top surface of my hands, my fingers, my neck, the V of where my shirt sits, and sometimes my legs. And so occasionally, every now and then, you might see me with some plastering or bandaging on my hands or my arms when it's particularly bad and I have to start putting some medication on. So yes, Jaunty can keep talking about his Mediterranean skin. I've got problematic skin. We'll call it that. I used to try and wear sleeves on drive, but that didn't go so well. The sacrifices we make to be in the bush, eh?
Yeah.
Cara, I have two very lucky shirts, and I consider them lucky for leopards and wild dogs. The one is the one that I'm wearing today, the white one with the floral pattern. Very nice, very sassy. I know Mel likes this one. Colourful one. The lucky hat, as usual. But the other one is the green one that I was wearing yesterday. It's a short-sleeved one. It looks almost like scrubs. That's actually what it's designed as, I think, scrubs. And it's got the brown leaf pattern on it. Those are my two lucky shirts. So I try and wear them as often as I can. Did you just get bitten by something, PK? There's biting flies here, thanks to the water. I got one to the ankle just now. Okay, myself and PK are going to be sitting here for a little while longer to see if anything comes down, and then we'll carry on our tracking mission.
Buffelshoek Dam. You know, I've spent so much time there, hoped Ping 4 Tlalamba to turn up on the dam wall, but never had that luck. We actually, I just want to go past where Tess and BK saw Dark Mane this morning. We just want to figure out where he is. so that we know potentially where if we can come back there later in the afternoon. Yo, something was lying there. Because we know typically him, based on his previous behavior, he is not going to be moving at all currently. He's probably going to be lying flat. So we just want to check where he is, and then the plan is to go and start heading into the area where the rest of the pride was seen. We want to try get there, you know, get with them just around 6 o'clock ish. It should start cooling down by then, and hopefully we get a bit of grooming, maybe a bit of yawning, and see if they get active. So this up ahead is Quarantine, and this is Philemon's Dip. This is where she said literally that junction. Yeah. We need Dave Salmoni here. Here, lion. I'm just going to go down through this dip and check, otherwise we'll come back up here. So as I was saying, we're just trying to see where Tess and BK left Darkmane this morning. She said it was at the junction of Quarantine and Philemon's Dip, which is actually behind us. I'm just going to turn around here and then go check that junction properly, see if there's any tracks. If anybody who's watching now was watching this morning, if you could give me a narrowed down location, you'll be part of the search. The hyena track. I mean, we've got to assume that he's moved into the shade somewhere. And the problem with him is he won't even lift his head when we drive past. This is Quarantine Philemon's Dip, not going mad. This is the cut line. Oh, so then he's right at the top then. Okay. It's a good thing I didn't go for a run today then. So sorry, I'm just turning around again. If it was Philemon's Dip, then it's the top of the ridge. Thanks, Reggie. So if it is Philemon's Dip, then it's at the top. This is Philemon's Dip. The road behind us is Philemon's Cut Line. And the tracks of the Nkahuma Pride were all around Quarantine Philemon's Dip yesterday. So he's like a day behind the Pride. Okay, cool. Thanks, FC. Yeah, I think it's FC was just giving me some info from Tess. But yeah, it sounds like it was up here, sort of on the edge of quarantine, the open area, and where Philemon's dip. And I can't see any of his tracks on the road here. So we just, from here, we must just start looking carefully in the shade. There's an elephant, so there's no lion there. Hello. And a herd of impala. It's so cool when you're looking for one thing, then you find different things. Oh, is that a big bull? Yes, we are going to go over there. There is a large male elephant. So we do have a guest with us on the car, and Mel reckons she's the elephant whisperer. That's why we're seeing so many elephants. Excuse me. Is this tree blocking you, Ames? He's good. I'm going to carry on driving. I want to go to this big elephant before he gets into the bushes. So if these elephants have moved through here, there's a good chance they might have just chased dark mane. Perfect, FC, stay with me. So I'm just going to go around. This elephant standing on the far side of quarantine, open area. There's a lot of elephants up here. Yeah, he looks good. He looks real good. It feels so bad. We're just driving past these other elephants, not looking at them. Gemma, definitely at the moment, because of all of the marulas that are fruiting up here, they're basically coming past here at least twice a day. There's more coming from down there. I can hear a squirrel alarming back there. The trouble with the grass at the moment, in winter when dark mane would come and lie up here, you could spot him from a mile away. But now with this grass, you have to be right on top of him. Okay, so we're just going to turn this corner and then I'm going to go a little bit off-piste and we should see this boy. He's got potential, that's for sure. That is so cool. So this is one of the ones we saw the other day. He's got that same broken left tusk. And you see that like wound on his trunk. But he is covered head to toe in dried mud. Yo, he's nice, eh? There's something radical because right now, for us, there's no other living thing bigger than him next to us. Tina, it's so cool to see these big elephants mudwater because you can see they're genuinely so happy. That's it, Kenneth. This is a big boy indeed. So I just don't think we can see it in the mud, but this is one. He was fully in must the other day when Gert and I were hanging out with him. But he's definitely big enough that he's in control of himself. He's just slightly hiding his face. Yeah, when you look at them, especially for me, that perspective, like when they sort of diagonally facing away from you, and you can see how big their shoulders are, and their front legs are massive. You're 100% right, Belgian watcher. I'm just going to move the car slightly further forward. He's big, eh? Had to make sure we parked outside the circle of the marula tree, otherwise we might have a marula landing on our heads. Yeah. Yeah, Joni, that's right. we're very close to that point where the sun's going to lose that sort of sting. But yeah, oh, there's marulas quite close to us. So if he comes and feeds here next to us, I'll just keep quiet. But I hope he does, so you get to sort of appreciate how massive this thing is. I was looking inside that like cut on his trunk. Looks a little bit weepy, but it's quite superficial. I mean, he'll be fine. Yeah, Chana, that definitely, I mean, that skin on his trunk is like 2 centimeters thick, it looks like. If that, whatever happened to him there, if that was on a human, you would be very sore, I think. I am impressed. He hasn't done one fart since we've been here. And I'm quite glad because we are directly downwind of him. We'll be biting through it. So we're still just sitting with this beautiful big elephant. He's feeding on marulas that are currently falling out of this tree here. But I'm just going to sit quietly and let you enjoy watching him feed.
We had a massive elephant bull with one tusk, the very same one that was incredibly cheeky with me the other day, and full on in must. When I say full on, I mean he was dripping probably liters and liters of fluid from his penis. It sounds disgusting, but he's probably the most full on elephant bull in terms of his level of must at the moment compared to every other elephant on Germany. He's probably the worst. But he's just crossed down the road here. This is Torchwood. I'm on Cheetah Cut Line. And we actually stopped here. Didn't notice the elephant walking straight towards us because we were tracking. And unfortunately, Tlalamba's tracks with cubs go straight over the road here into Torchwood. So I'm feeling a little deflated, but I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm going to carry on down Cheetah Cut Line. I'm going to do a little bit of Drakensberg Road back up north, because maybe she crossed out here and she's going to cross in there. So we will see what happens. I'm hoping that Tlalamba will decide to come back and grace us with her presence. But while my elephant bull has promptly disappeared after being cheeky, I will send you to John T, whose elephants are still eating marulas.
So I know I've said it before, but I'm just going to sit quietly because this elephant is now quite close to us. You just want to enjoy being next to this big boy. So cool to see his trunk is just sweeping around, sucking up marulas. Yeah, I say it all the time, Laura Moore, but I don't know, there's nothing quite as cool as spending time with these big grey buttes. I'm just watching that tail very closely, because if he opens that chamber now, it's going to be bad. It's literally head height. That's a pretty good distraction from looking for dark mane. Zebi, my heart doesn't skip a beat, but it gets filled with happiness. Especially this one. There's times when they come that close and their body language is very different, and you definitely pucker up a little bit and your heart rate increases. But with this guy, he's being so gentle and so relaxed the whole time that from when we drove in. He's just showed us complete calmness. So that's why I was happy to come park where we did. And then he's the one who fed towards us. So it's very, very special. I mean, Gert, Amy, and myself, we've all been around lots of elephants, but I think every single time they come close like that, it's very, very special. I'm just going to reverse so that for the last little bits of watching, and we're watching his face head on. Thanks, FC. FC is just letting me know that a lot of you watching are loving spending time with this big man. I'm sort of trying to rack my head. That elephant bull that we're with one tusk that pushed that marula tree over, I think they're quite comparable in size, actually. I'd love to see both of them in like 20 or 25 years' time and see what they're looking like then. It's amazing. One of the crazy experiences that I've had is you go to a place in Zimbabwe called Mana Pools. You collect, they eat the pods from the anna trees and the winterthorn, and if you like collect the pods and you put them in a pile, the guys sit down and you have these huge big elephant bulls walking up and eating the pods while you're sitting on the ground in your campsite. I mean, there's nowhere you can go. You just sit outside the front of your tent. And you have an elephant bull come and stand a meter from your tent. It's pretty impressive. Mel and FC's asking if he eats so many marulas, is he going to get the marula sweats? I don't know. They definitely get the marula bum. I can't believe he hasn't farted while we've been here. I'm quite impressed. that blood? Those hairs on the trunk are like almost like receptors. When that trunk is cruising around, imagine it almost works like whiskers on a leopard's face. Sometimes, I mean, they can be so powerful with their trunk, but if they're like tentatively reaching for something, and if something touches the hairs, you'll see they pull their trunk back like they've been shocked. We've got the lovely back. That's cool. The backdrop sound of a generator. Ooh, I thought when he'd have picked his head up a bit, he was going to reach up with his trunk. Okay, let me reposition again. We drove this side so we could see his face, and now he's moved around.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. At the moment we are looking at a cuckoo, and this specific one that we are looking at is known as a Diedrich's cuckoo, which is probably one of the most parasitic of all cuckoo species out here in Southern Africa. And they will actually go for an odd number of birds, which includes some 20 different species. He's probably just busy scanning for either a meal or for a nest that he can potentially parasitize. And when it does come to cuckoos, they often will feed on hairy caterpillars, which has got quite nasty spines. It's just now moved slightly towards our left. We're just going to try and follow him with a camera. And he's fairly low down, just 1 meter above this ground and a dead little bush where he's sitting. And they actually will be able to feed those, as well as they use those little caterpillars as nuptial gifts to actually impress a female. But once courtship has taken place and mating has taken place, we simply find that the female will go and dump her egg in the nest of one of the weaver species. What they'll also generally do is that they will evict the host's egg or the chick from the nest to ensure that all the resources goes to its chick itself. There's a number of other groups of brood parasites that we also find in South Africa, and they also include honey guides as well as widers. For me, the most fascinating of all of them is definitely the honey guides, as they've also got a number of special adaptations, which also includes bullhooks, where the chick of the honey guide will then simply kill the host species. There's three main strategies that we find when it comes to brood parasites. You either will kill or evict the egg of a host. You secondly will outgrow the host species, and in some cases with some of the bird species, you'll actually find that they will be raised together with that of the host. And it's also quite often comical when you watch the host species feeding an incredibly large bird.
So a little update on our side. We're still in the east. I'm doing Drakensberg Road at the moment. I'm going back north towards Central Road, which is initially where I started my search for Columba, and we found tracks just in front of us here. And so I was hoping that we might get lucky doing another loop. Maybe she's crossed back in somewhere else, but so far, no luck. So I'm actually going to be changing my direction a bit. Instead of staying in the area, if I know her tracks have left and there's no fresh signs, I've seen the odd glimpse of elephants, none of them particularly relaxed, which in itself is a bit strange, but that's a whole different topic. I'm going to go back towards Nyala Road and do Nyala Road south towards the Milwaukee and then go into the drainage line itself and have a look if we can find any animals along there. That is a beautiful magpie shrike. I'm hoping it's going to... No. Yes. It's landed again. It's just landed in front of us and now it's moved again. And I'm hoping you might see it move because it's got the most stunning transparency to its wings in the light when it's flying. Oh, there you can see the white really beautifully. Now when it opens its wings, at the moment you can see a white V on its back. When it opens its wings, you can actually see it makes a cross over the back, like an X in noughts and crosses. There it goes. There you could see a bit of the X as it was landing. And a bit of that transparency. It seems like there's a few magpie shrikes in this area, which is quite normal. They do travel in family packs, in a flock. I'm sure they're out looking for food at the moment. Now, interestingly enough, it's not something I ever thought about before, but I've never seen a juvenile magpie shrike. I've only ever seen adults. Which in itself is a bit strange. But maybe I just haven't paid close enough attention. There you could see a bit of the transparency in the wings. So right on the edge of the wings, you could see a bit of transparency there. Brings a lighter color to the overall picture of the bird. Absolutely gorgeous area. So about 50 meters in front of where we are is where we found the first set of tracks. We followed them quite a long way. I'm actually not 100% sure how long it would take in days or months for the tail to get that long. I wouldn't imagine it would be too long because it is a very distinctive, it's just the same as the other feathers. When the other feathers grow, it's a very distinctive look of the magpie shrike. But I'll try and see if I can find an answer to that. That's a very specific question, and I don't want to give you the wrong answer. I would be interested to know if it has a specific answer. That's a good question, thank you. I'm going to see if I can look into it and then I can get back to you. But that's quite a specific... I'm trying to think in my head how long it would take to grow feathers. Romeo, very true. Lots of animals, birds, insects, even habitats, plants, all of it. There's so much to learn about and always so many things to learn. Every day there's something new. For me it'll have to be today, it'll have to be how long it takes a magpie shrike to grow its tail. Quite unusual. So this little herd of impalas we saw as we turned off of Central Road and where we found the leopard tracks. And they're still here. It's quite a small herd. Moving back towards the drainage line, back towards the area of Central Road, Junction Nyala Road, where we're actually going. You can see they're looking quite nervous. And that's not surprising, because there's so few of them. You could imagine if Tlalamba was moving through here during the night, because her tracks looked quite fresh if it was her. The leopard tracks were quite fresh. And so they might have split the herd while they were hunting, or while she was hunting, and so they would be a bit nervous to head back towards the thickets of the drainage line. Just in front of them, the direction that they're looking is where Tlalamba's den site was last, that we last saw them at. And that area is very thick. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the impalas choose to stay here in the clearing instead of moving down to that area. Quite close to Guaripan as well, so maybe they'll go towards Guaripan. But every time we stop, especially on this section here, I'm just listening as well in case there are any unusual sounds. Unfortunately though, I do think Lalamba has left. I don't think she was here for long because we haven't seen any tracks of her. Maybe she just came to do a loop and moved back again. Left the cubs in the drainage line overnight, managed to kill something and fetch them to take them out again. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely if we could see her pop up in the background at the moment. There's so many flies, these poor impalas can't sit still for a second. Okay, so I believe that we're going to have to wait a little bit longer on this front. I must apologize on behalf of all of us here. It sounds like Ngala cannot join us this afternoon. I know I was very excited, and so was everybody else, to see Ngala back with us today. But it sounds like they cannot join us this afternoon. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see them tomorrow. Fingers crossed. Can't wait to have an update and a catch-up on all of our favorite characters, the white lions. All of our favorites. Alright, I think I'm going to carry on down towards the drainage line. So this is the initial junction that I came up and went up that way. The leopard tracks were just here. Done a massive loop back down and then crossed out into Torchwood. But it was worth checking. It's nice to know that we can see some tracks around. Nice to know that she's at least been back, if it is her. I think it's her because we found tracks with cubs, so maybe. But nice to know that she is at least still around the area. Alright, let me carry on down towards the drainage line and dip into it to see if we can find anything cooling off in the afternoon heat.
Okay, so we've managed to drag ourselves away from that beautiful big elephant. We did a check around there. That is, Tess said Darkmane was lying on the edge of quarantine just before Philemon's dip, and there's so many elephants around there, a herd of impala, so he's probably moved. So what we want to do now is start heading towards where the Pride was last seen this morning. I do know some other vehicles are trying to go there, but I haven't been able to get hold of them, so we'll just go that way and see what happens. And I think our timing's good as long as they haven't moved. It's coming up to 6 o'clock. And you can feel the sun now is just awesome. It's not roasting us, it's just that awesome temperature. So I just want to chat on the radio. I want to check if I can actually get hold of these other guys who are going to check on the lions. Which is the station following up on the Nkrumah Pride?
John Key, it's Knowledge.
Okay, copy, thanks. Knowledge coming for John T. Knowledge, have you gone to the last position?
Right here on this now, around here, at the moment, they just moved to where they were this morning.
Okay, copy. I'll be keen to come into that area and give you a hand. I'll come down Monkey Orange from the north. Okay, so go up.
Fine.
I thought I heard Tess calling me. Apparently not. So one of the other guards, Knowledge, he has gone to that last area where the lions were, and he says he can't see any lions, so they must have moved a little bit. So let's go give him a hand. And I'm presuming he would have come in from Gowrie Main and checked the tracks from that side. That broke up a little bit. Mel, I think your Afrikaans accent needs a bit of work. Gert thought you were speaking French. Did you hear what she said?
I know what it means.
I know what it means. I need to brush up on my Afrikaans. Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. My brother was trying to tell a story the other day, and his Afrikaans failed him so badly. And I don't know where they went to some place, and there was a caracal. It was like a rehab place, and they were feeding the caracal. I just want to check this junction for tracks here. And the caracal jumped super high, and oh, there we go. If you can't find it, grind it. And my brother said they wanted to ask, there's a I think that's actually a leopard track. That's a lion track. He wanted to ask them to make the caracal jump for the meat. But he said, maak hom jump. Because he just assumed that jump in Afrikaans was jump instead of spring. When he told me that, I nearly died. Maak hom jump. Go ahead.
I'm going to be out of my mobile for 5 to 10. I just want to scratch around in the south and check motion. I don't think this is open far.
Okay, copied.
I was seeing my mobile right next to them there. I'm pretty much close to where they were this morning. I'll be on a handle.
Okay, copied. So that's Knowledge just letting me know that he's actually going to get off of his vehicle and just try to do a bit of tracking to see where the lions go. This is the one just to the mast, eh? We need the next one. Percy, thank you so much for those lion luck sprinkles. It seems like we're going to need them. This road, this is the one, the line tracks up, it's like they're using it as a highway. I'm questioning my... I don't know if we should have taken that road. Yo, Sasha, a tree that's fighting talk. Fighting talk. I'll just turn the screen off when we find the lions. Oh yeah, Gert, we should have taken that one. But that's fine, we'll come in from the boundary then. We won't be looking into the sun. Yeah. So while Knowledge is walking, what we'll do is let's check the boundary to make sure those lions haven't crossed out heading west. Okay, so we're going to link to Tess, who is bumbling.
Oh, good luck, Jonty. I hope you managed to find them. For a change, we've swapped roles. I'm looking for leopards and you're looking for lions. Maybe that's what's wrong with the system today. We need to go back to our usual. So I have just arrived at the junction of Nyala Road South with the Mulawati. I want to take the riverbed once I've checked Chilapan. I'm going to take the riverbed down towards Twin Dams. I'll pop in at the hyena den now that it's cooling off. And then we'll go from there. I actually had not thought about it until BK mentioned it now, but he asked why I was chuckling on Nyala Road. And I was just chuckling because that's where I got charged by a hippo, but he asked me why it's my favorite road, if it's because my nickname at Ngala was Nyala Female. And I'd forgotten about that, but as soon as he said it, I could hear the voice in my head. One of the trackers used to call me Nyala Female after the leopard. And I'd completely forgotten about it until he mentioned it, and then all of a sudden I could hear Adam's voice in my head saying, Nyala Female. My goodness. Crazy how these things kind of go back to the back of your memory bank and then they come out again. Ngala Nala and Nyala Female. Wowza. That is a while ago. Nostalgia kicking in, everybody. Right, let's check Chilapan. I've got my navigating grass with me. Penny, yes. Ngala has quite a few prides of lions that frequent the area. The most common when I left was still the Birmingham Pride. They were the most regularly seen. But also the Mbiri Pride, the Skittish Pride, the Squirrel Pride. There's a pride from the west as well, so Birmingham Breakaways as well. So there's quite a few different prides of lions that frequent there. Remember that size-wise, Ngala is almost... probably about 14 times bigger than Djuma. So it's a massive area. And so there'll be a lot more leopard territories that could fit in there, although we actually have a higher leopard density here. But lion-wise, there's a lot more space for the different lion prides to move through. So here, where we would only really see, maybe if we're lucky, the torchwoods, which we have not seen on Djuma in years, but mostly the Talamatis and the Nkuhumas and all their different substituents that they've broken up into. Ngala has a lot more prides of lions that would come around, much more than we do. So I'm just turning here. I'm going to reverse into Pangolin track. I just wanted to come and check Chelapan because it's a really great place to come and have a look. It's a little water hole, one little tree behind it, and just always good to check. But it doesn't seem like there is anything here, so I'm going to carry on down Twin Dams back towards the Mulawati. And then we'll do a couple loops around the area, having a look. Maybe Jonty's lines that he's looking for, maybe they'll come this way. Maybe I'll get lucky and bump into them. Elephant carcass or somewhere strange. Homer, yes, I believe there have been some pangolins seen in Djuma. I've seen some pangolin tracks that Rexon showed me after the rain. But I don't know when the last time was that a pangolin was actually seen here. The difficult part with pangolins is that they are around. We know they live here, but we know so little about them and about their movements because 1, they're nocturnal, 2, they blend in really well in the long grass, and 3, obviously they're being poached at a very scary rate. They are the most trafficked animal in the world at this point, in the world. If you stop trucks on the border between here and Mozambique or here and Zimbabwe, you might find, any of our borders of South Africa basically, you might find 10-ton trucks filled to the brim with live pangolins tied up in the back. So pangolins are a bit of a sensitive topic and it needs to be spoken about because nobody realizes how trafficked they are. We don't know how many are left, we don't know where they are. And unfortunately, it's one of those situations where we're trying to do what we can, but it's tough. Oh, the woodland kingfisher. Oh, there, it's landed for you, BK. A woodland kingfisher has landed for BK. The same one we saw at the little mud wallow. I think it's busy hunting at the moment. Absolutely gorgeous. It's a very bright red beak. Most of the woodland kingfishers we see have more of a neon red beak. This one's got quite a blood red or a deep red beak. I wonder if it's just the changing light. Perhaps it's the backdrop of the dark bush willow. I love how it's turning its head so quickly. It's definitely looking for food. I'm going to spend a little bit more time here with the kingfisher just to see what it gets up to, and then I'll carry on down towards Twin Dams for our bird call challenge. So our kingfisher is flitting around from bush to bush. We're still sitting fairly close to the looks like it's fighting with another one. We're sitting fairly close to the drainage line. Mulawati's on my left hand side, so I want to carry on down at the next junction. Goodness gracious, we've got a display happening. It's on the bottom branch, territorial display. Display. My words. Oh, here it comes again, possibly. No, it stopped. It can still see the other kingfisher. It's all the way on the other side of a very tall tree. Definitely territorial displays happening today. Oh, we might get another one. Let's see the other kingfisher fly over again. Oh wow. They swapped positions. It's quite strange. That was so cool. It flew almost over BK's head. Okay, it seems like both of our kingfishers have moved on. But that was very cool to see a bit of territoriality. The wings up, the colours. Very, very cool. I'm going to carry on towards the next crossing and then dip down into the Milawati and take that track all the way down in the riverbed toward the Twin Dams. I'm hoping we might find with the dropping light maybe a leopard, maybe some owls, maybe an elephant, maybe a hippo. Ooh, hippo out of the water. But it's already been such a lovely, peaceful afternoon. I feel like we've been so lucky with some of the smaller things today. It's one of those days where small things are just happening. They're just coming up.
Welcome back to Training Islands. We quickly went to go and check the western boundary as well as the northwestern boundary to see if we could find any signs of our lions, but exited this morning. So far nothing. I was hoping that they might have made their way back towards one of the dams, as it's already much cooler and it's very likely that they're actually going to start moving. It's actually interesting to see how the different dynamics started playing out in the last month or two, with a larger group of lions coming into the area and also splitting off into two smaller groups in aid of supporting their cubs and avoid unnecessary competition. You can also see that it seems to also have had an effect on the hyena population within the area. And even with the hyenas, there was a lot of competition between themselves as well. We're just going to drive a little bit further and see what we can find. And as we move on, we're just going to do a silent driving segment and allow you to enjoy the landscape as well as listen to different sounds that you might hear above the vehicle's engine. One of the important things as a guide is that you should go out there with the attitude that you will definitely find something and that you must never give up looking. And that's very important to keep yourself motivated, as there is those days where you will find nothing. And then there's other days that you'll be finding an excess amount of animals. It's just sometimes unbelievable how things will pan out. In the meanwhile, let's go and see what Jonty is up to.
So after many hours of extensive and difficult tracking, we managed to find the lions. It's actually quite funny how it works. We just bumped into Knowledge who drove on the road where they were, and he said they walked, couldn't find any sign. They saw one track that was heading north. He said they were going to move away. And we drove in, and this just shows you how thick the grass is. The road where they drove out is about 60 meters away from us. And the lions are lying on Zoe's road. But like we were saying earlier, the timing is good. It's 6:15. You see there's a bit of grooming. Heads are up. That's what we want to be seeing. Shame, he's just laughing. So this is knowledge arriving to enjoy these lions. But it just shows you the grass is so long at the moment. So I haven't been able to do a proper count yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. I think I can see 8. Oh, did you? So there must be another one, maybe a bit thicker in the bush here, deeper in the bush. Oh, there's its head there. Camouflage. So there's number 9. I can just see its ear. Thank you, Linda Poli. It's feels very cool when you just find them lying on the road. So now we got to presume Darkmane is trailing this pride of lions. I would like to see him. I do like that lion. He gets berated by a lot of the guys for being lazy. But I'm convinced that at night he turns into Batman and does ridiculous things. Senzo, yeah, it's I mean, I wouldn't. If you jump off and you don't know where they are, and you get close and you're close to them, then it could be a problem. But yeah, guys, especially in this area, they track lions all the time. It's almost like the lions become a bit used to it. And in this environment now, with the grass being as big as it is, as tall as it is, you would track the lions in, but you would almost be hoping for them to growl at you, and that's what these lions would do. I don't know if you remember the other day I was talking about if you track lions that are not used to being tracked, you won't find them, and they won't growl at you because they'll just keep moving and they'll just keep moving away from you. So you'll just keep finding where they're lying down. But lions in these areas where they do get tracked by trackers very frequently, they've learnt, that people kind of do that, and they'll growl, and that's them saying to you, this is where we're lying, don't come any closer. So when you hear the growl, you think, okay, cool, they're the lions, and then you go back to the car and drive in. That's why, like, in my experience now, if I go to a place and if you walk and you get close to lions and they don't growl and they don't run away, that makes you feel uneasy. Yeah, they're looking very good, Drama Llama. Some of them are not as full as others, so I think 2 of the adult lionesses joined them yesterday. I think that's what Tess was saying. And I remember from when we viewed them the other day, some looked a bit more better fed than others. So it's very similar to the other day, just one got its head up. Not all of them have moved. The other night I said 7 o'clock they'd start moving, and they kicked off at, what was it, like 6:30. So let's see what happens today. There's a lot of little flies buzzing around. You can see the lions using their tails to swat them away. I say I'd love to know what's going on with the lion dynamics at the moment. Beamer, that is correct. Just lying around. I was just saying, I wonder what's going on with the lion dynamics, because the telemates have been spotted the last few days very far out of their sort of traditional range. I know some of my friends have seen them on Singita and also on Inyati, which is very far west and south of here. So it'd be interesting to know what pressure they're feeling and from who, why they would move there. It's like we're just lying, just chilling out with these lions, just enjoying the sunset. Well, that's what we want. We want lions to start getting up, yawning, licking. No. We need multiple heads up. It's so funny, we're waiting for them. Don't flop over. Don't you do it. Oh, there's a big yawn from this one in the bush. Even though they're lying down, you just watch their ears. They're definitely taking in any sounds that might alert them to potential prey. That's what we want. Big yawns, get that oxygen in. And no, yeah, get up. Thank you. You see that line that's just got up doesn't look very fat, but it was a lot of energy used there to move to that spot. So if you've just joined us, you haven't missed a thing in the last 10 minutes. These lions are still flat out. The way they're behaving now, I think my 7 o'clock time frame is still good. Chrissy, it's quite interesting. So they definitely see individual people on the car. It's not like they just see the car and people as one big lump. But what they don't see on the car is that sort of that two-legged shape that they are instinctively wary of. So that's why they always tell you at the lodges, don't stand up. That's not so much breaking the outline of the vehicle as all of a sudden there's a two-legged person standing very close to them, which would give them a fright. But you'll see it sometimes if they're walking past the car or if someone moves, you'll see the lion looks at individual people, and those individual people know when the lion's looking straight at them, because you feel very small and insignificant when they stare at you. Thanks, Chrissy. It's a good question. I can hear a vehicle driving. I'm presuming they're coming to join us. I've had my radio down. Yeah, it does look like someone's coming to join us, which is awesome. Sometimes the arrival of another vehicle sparks the lions into action. Sometimes it does the opposite. We're going to stay here. I think Tess is looking for a leopard.
Sounds absolutely wonderful, Jonty. I'm so happy you found the lions. Exciting times. I am just arriving at the hyena den. I don't know if anybody's home yet, so we're going to have a quick look. It is the perfect time. Oh, looks like an empty entrance. I'll quickly show you the entrance. looks empty, but what we've been noticing recently is we stop here, it's empty, and as we go around the corner, Heart or Ribbon or Auntie Bele or Uncle Swazi, or all of them, if we're very lucky, might be lying on the road around the corner. It has been a really hot day, and because it's cooling down, you might find that the cubs might actually be out and about with mum, or mums, I should say. So empty den for now. I don't want to just sit here with no adults here because we don't do that. So what I'm going to do is go slowly around the corner. There's a little mud wallow here that you can see in front of us, and around the corner there's another little dip, and that's the dip that I like to lie in just as we go around that bend. So we're going to have a quick look and see if anybody might be there. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, maybe we will find a hyena around the bend here, or on the old 2-track that goes to the other den side. Or the old den site, I should say. Ah, no hyenas home. Darn it. I was really hoping we'd get some action. Like me, and I agree, it would be epic to see Ribbon and the cubs. And what I've actually been wanting to do, and I know a few people have been asking as well, I'm wanting to go and check as well along Taxons Road where the old den sites are. Oh, Wendy, come on! Goodness gracious. Wendy's got a habit of kicking herself out of low range and then just hanging somewhere in the middle recently. There we go. The little tricks of driving a vehicle for a while, you end up picking up their sweet spots. But yes, I'm wanting to go and check the den sites along Taxons Road as well. Got permission to go and check them, and so that's what I'm wanting to do. I'm going to be heading towards Treehouse Dam. We're very close to sunset, and I'm hoping this is the time when the hyenas are going to be active, and so I figured it's a pretty good time to go and have a look if there's nobody home. Because when I was sitting at Treehouse Dam, Gert thought he may have heard some hyena cubs while we were hearing some hyena interactions. It sounded like somewhere along the drainage line, and this drainage line goes straight towards Treehouse Dam. Maybe Corky might have some cubs along Taxons Road. So I'm wanting to go and check those den sites and have a look. Maybe look if I can meet some new hyena cubbies. I don't think anything could be better at this point. Imagine meeting new baby hyenas. Just as we're getting to know the personality of Ribbon's cubs and Heart's little one as well. Black-collared barbets anyway. Lyra, it is very exciting. I know I've checked those den sites a few times, but in December, when we thought maybe there might be something happening then already. Because we've been seeing a lot of tracks on Taxons Road, we've been hearing a lot of hyena activity. And it's very possible that the dens we know of, because there's 3 den sites along Taxons Road, 2 off of one 2-track, 1 off of another. And Taxons Road was actually created for those den sites, believe it or not. But it could be altogether possible that we've been checking the 3 existing den sites, or pre-used den sites, I should say. And maybe they found a different termite mound that they're using. So it's going to be a case of, if we can confirm that maybe Corky has had cubs and we can follow her, if it's not one of those 3 existing den sites, then we might get really lucky and find a new one, completely new den site that we haven't seen before. But it is more likely that they are going to use a den site that they have used before. That's the way of hyenas, it's the way of even mongooses, their relatives. So fingers crossed, everybody. Maybe we'll get lucky on Taxons Road. I've always particularly loved the area of Treehouse Dam and all the drainage lines around it. I think it is absolutely beautiful. There's just so much life there always, whether it's insects or birds or elephants or lions, even the hyenas. There's always something happening close to Treehouse Dam. Sue, you think we should rename Wendy Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That would be amazing. I think we should do that. Oh, old girl, it's okay. We love Wendy. She is getting old, but she is phenomenal. She still does everything she's supposed to. Occasionally she has a break, and that's alright. It makes you appreciate her even more when you know how old she is and how well she's been doing. Certainly one of those appreciative moments. It also makes us appreciate being out more as well. You know, when you do have any form of unpredictable thing happen, whether it's the weather, whether it's, you know, something on the vehicles, whether it's part of the equipment that broadcasts the feed, or whether it's something, you know, something breaking on Wendy or Rusty. It does make you appreciate being out here every second of every day. Because we miss it, you know, even when we go on leave, as much as we're happy to maybe sleep in, although I think most of us, it's so ingrained in our bodies that we wake up early every day anyway. I know when I'm at home, I'm at gym at 4 mornings a week. I'm up at 4:30 again anyway, because it's ingrained in my body after so many years. But we enjoy having a bit of a break, and I think most of that for us is actually just seeing friends and family and catching up with the outside world, because it's a very isolated little bubble out here. We miss it. Every day we miss it. There's a little scrub there that hops through there. I wonder where Dark Main's gone. My mind is going 50 different directions at once here. I'm happy that everyone's enjoying the idea of renaming Wendy to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's got a little ring to it, doesn't it? Maybe that should be Wendy's new nickname. See, I've already started thinking of renaming a few things around here. Mendoza Road or Monkey Orange, I'm officially nicknaming Sneezens Road. That is my worst road for allergies. But Wendy, the new Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Oh my goodness. Wendy is old enough to be my grandmother. How crazy is that? That is absolutely wild to think about. Wendy's been around since long before my parents have been around. Wow. Dark Main. So I'm just chatting about Dark Main, sorry, because Jackson's Road is here, which goes straight to Philemon's Dip, straight to where we had Dark Main this morning. I think he's gone to either one of the drainage lines around Quarantine, or possibly closer to Treehouse Dam, or possibly closer to Gari Dam. So now would be the time when he might be lifting up his head in the long grass. So for me, that is where I want to go next. And I'm going to be taking Taxon's Road and checking the dailings on my way there. Because like Jonty said, around 7 he thinks his lines are going to start moving. I think Dark Main might start doing the same. He's a little bit lazier than the rest of the pride, for good reason. He's deserved it through his life. But I think it would be lovely to see him moving this evening. Oh, this is so tranquil. I can hear some birds sounding a bit unhappy. That's exciting. is so pretty. I'd actually love to hear from all of you what your favorite dam is, because we get asked a lot. I'd love to hear what everybody's favorite dam is. I love a good dusk chorus, don't you?
And welcome back, everyone. I almost don't know what to do with myself with all of this line activity. There's 4 of them with their heads up. This is mega. Oh, big yawn from the lioness. That one's yawning, starting to possibly groom. Okay. Shows yawning is contagious. Look how they all just... Oh, when they scratch like that, you can actually hear the claws. Oh, you see that one stretching could definitely do with the meal. And a flop down on a sibling. Look. When they... Well, not really. There's certain areas where you'll get male lions that have, they call them maneless, but they kind of just have almost what looks like the start of a mane, slightly more than this young male we're looking at here. Once they've got that big old mane, it typically stays with them. When they get very old, they might lose a little bit of condition on the mane, but they don't go bald. That would be so funny. Can you imagine if a lion had a receding mane? Flip, that would be funny. I think it's in an area around Kenya called Tsavo, where the male lions are known there to be maneless. I was talking about Ghost in the Darkness the other day, about those lions that went on a bit of a spree. Those were maneless lions. Copycat, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not entirely sure. saw the one there. I couldn't see the rest of its body, but there are 9. Yeah, I thought we were so close to getting a bit of action there. We need like a Inyala to walk out. So you see that there's some head rubbing going on at the back of the bush there. And a bit of aloe grooming where they groom each other. And let's see if this lioness leads them away now. Sometimes she'll get up and she might walk away a little bit to go lie down again. Yeah, it is so sweet when you see them like this, grooming each other, and you can see there's like that general happiness hanging out with each other. That's funny. So this one I think is going to get up. I think it's getting hammered by flies. We're going to head over to Tess where BK is filming the moon.
So we are sitting at Treehouse Dam. It is a lovely tranquil evening, and at the moment BK has done some incredible camera work once again. And we are looking at a gorgeous, gorgeous moon. Now he's asked me not to move too much. In his exact words, please don't break dance on the vehicle. Because we're zoomed in quite far. But absolutely brilliant. And I remember Jonty telling a story yesterday about whether the moon was waxing or waning. And it made me think about it because he remembers it for different reasons than I do. Waxing versus waning. Waxing means it's getting bigger, waning means it's getting smaller. So getting full or going back to almost no moon. And he remembers it because waxing is when you're adding wax to a surfboard, it gets thicker, which means the moon is going to be going towards full moon. And I remember it the opposite way around, waning, which, you know, should know means getting less. But if you don't, like I had to remember it at the time, waning to me is similar to weaning, when cubs start weaning off of milk, so they're getting less and less, and that was how I remembered it in the beginning. So we've done opposites over there, but it's interesting how mine was biological and Chanti's was surfing. Very interesting, the science behind it. I was actually just chatting and wondering, you know, we get asked all the time what our favorite dams are, what our favorite roads are, and why. And I would love to know from all of you, or if any of you have a favorite dam, what dam is it? Is it Buffelshoek Dam, Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, Chitwa Dam, Gowrie Dam, Simambili Dam, maybe with Jonty in the last few days? I just find it interesting to see what other people think, because I think we all have our own reasons. And I think it's fascinating to hear what makes other people tick. Which is your favorite dam, BK? Chitwa Dam. BK likes Chitwa Dam. I agree. Chitwa Dam, there's always something going on. It's really big, so it's quite diverse in the activity. I also love Chitwa Dam. But I feel like this section where Treehouse Dam is a lot thicker and to me feels a little bit more wild than Twin Dams or Gari Dam. It's thicker here, so it feels a bit different. Reminds me a bit more of, I suppose, Ngala in the west. Well, if you listen, you'll notice that I've got quite a few different frogs calling, but the dusk chorus has already died down, which is quite unusual. It's still light out, but yet we can't hear many birds calling. Normally on a hot day we'll have birds calling for quite a bit longer. So to me that feels unusual. You can hear one or two of the ground birds, a spurfowl, a francolin, just kind of calling for where they've settled for the night. Panthera, thank you for giving us an answer. You like Gari Dam and Chitwa Dam. Sorry, Bika, I'm not trying to break dance. I agree. I think those two are stunning. And it's interesting how different things stick out in different people's minds about each dam. I already feel like after seeing Molwati there last night, I've got a much fonder view of Gari Dam. It's interesting how these things shape our perspectives. But I think any big water source is so attractive for everything. I don't know what we missed on the bush telegraph that the birds clearly got, but they was quiet for so long and now all of a sudden they're all calling again. We must have missed some important information. Chris Rogue, you like Sydney's Dam? Yes, I like Sydney's Dam as well. I got so lucky there with the Talamatis. It's quite an unusual dam because I suppose we're seeing it from the other side. Normally we see the dam from the dam wall, and with Sydney's Dam we see it now from the boundary, which is the bottom end of the dam, not the dam wall end. But also a big beautiful dam, open areas. Maybe it's a good time for us to do our bird call challenge. I think that's a good idea. Well, if anyone else wants to send in answers for the dam, you're more than welcome. I'm always open to hearing it. But I'm going to play the bird call challenge now, just because I think, it's such a gorgeous evening. Let's see how it goes. So I'm playing probably one of the more unusual ones, also one of my favorites. If you don't know how the challenge works, everybody, please get involved. I will play you a bird call, and you can choose to send in an answer, either the bird, if you know the specific species, or if you think of a family that it reminds you of and you think it might be that, you can send it in. And then we wait for some answers, and a bit later on, once we've got some, I will show you what it looks like in the book. Okay, so I hope you're all ready. Here comes the unusual bird call. You either recognize it, or I'm afraid with this one you don't. It sounds a bit similar to a certain frog call, but I'm not going to give too much away. Let's have a listen. BK's laughing at the bird call. Very distinctive pop at the end of the call, and you can understand why I said it sounds like a specific frog. Actually, it sounds a bit like two mixed. Okay, so everybody can think of some answers. If you want to send them in, please do. I will be ready and waiting here at Treehouse Dam.
What good timing. Down, down. So the vehicle was trying to leave quietly, not to disturb us, and then he stalled. And then I mocked him. So, good timing. These lions are busy getting up. Just moving around a little bit. That one's just come back from having a bit of a drink. The rest have flopped down again. But the initial movement they've made is back, south and west. And you won't see her now, but Purple Eye is here. She's lying sort of a few meters to the right of these lines we're looking at. Shame, she's not looking so good. So I think we are moments away, hopefully, from these lions getting up and moving. They did the sort of 20-meter shuffle. Some of them drank some water, some flopped down. The ones that have already had water and gone a bit further away, they're still lying with their heads up, listening around. I just got the message from Tess came through of where Darkmane was actually left. So it wasn't actually where we quite thought this afternoon. So there's a chance he might still be on the exact same place where he was. Be interesting if he starts calling, if these lions will even respond to him. A lot of these lions at the moment, because of the long grass, they pick up ticks that go onto the top of their heads and by their ears. And sometimes you'll see when they're grooming each other like this, actually pull those ticks off their front teeth. I don't know if the microphone's picking up that soft sort of groaning sound that some of them are making. KFC was just telling me that that sound's not really coming through. It's very soft, but it sounds like a happy sound. Matt, it depends what they catch. And Matt's just asking how often do they need to hunt. You probably say on average every 3 to 5 days. It just depends what it is that they catch. But how funny is this? You can see from the vehicle how close they are to us. Just flopping around. But I say that when their prides get big, around 20, I've seen them catch a buffalo and eat the whole thing in a night. And the next day they're still looking keen on some other action. So that's why I was saying the other day, these prides, especially in this area, there's sort of an optimum number. Otherwise they've just got to catch such big prey, and so often it becomes like PT. Interesting, this one lion went back onto the road and almost, she's making a soft contact call. So the potential of this lion on the right actually calling, she's doing soft contact call. Yeah, that's one here I was looking off and just doing a soft call. We'll just keep the camera on her in case she does. It's okay. Rain, no, they don't. Cheetahs, which is amazing if you hear cheetahs lying together. And you hear them, they will purr. Sorry, I'm just checking my microphone box. So cheetahs, you hear them purring, but lions and leopards, not. Look, so that was close. It's amazing when they walk that close to you. The one smelling the back of your car there. What's on your cooler box? So the one line as it walked past the back of the other car, it gave the cooler box a big old sniff. So we might have to move sooner rather than later, because otherwise these lines are going to cross. And I would love for you to see them walking, but they're heading straight to the boundary. Oh, one's lying in the road. I think FC, just stay with me for a little bit, just because these lions are potentially going to cross over the boundary. We've got Purple Eye running at us here. Shame, that one's not even using its back leg properly. So I'm just going to, like I said, I just want to get around ahead of them once, because they are busy walking. And we may not have them for much longer. So I'm just going to shoot past this big Nkahuma tree. And let's see if we can get them walking towards us. Oh, those ones are already quite far ahead. Looks like they've actually... Is that one just cutting off to do a poo? Okay, we're going to get onto the road now. Renata, that's quite interesting. I don't know if it would be so much by taste, but by smell, definitely. So we're literally about, I don't know, 60 meters from the boundary. So unless they change their trajectory quite soon, I just wanted to stay with, so at least you could have one good last look at them. And I hope Tess goes to where she left, or to the actual position where Darkmane was left, and see if he's still there. It's amazing how, when they're all sort of lying down and rolling over on top of each other and yawning, they look so sort of innocent, but then as soon as they start walking and listening and looking and smelling the air, it changes big time, especially for how we're viewing them now without a spotlight. It's quite eerie, actually. Yeah. I'm just checking my mic pack. It should be better now. And they're so in tune with each other. When one stops to listen, the others all sort of see that in their body language, and then they will all stop and listen as well. Yeah, Ali. as guides, we always love a good old walk by. So we just sitting on the bottom end of Zoe's Road with the Kuhuma Pride. There's one lying directly in front of us. The main part of the Pride have already sort of walked past us. These look like the last two. The whole Pride, they are listening quite intently as they're moving off from where they were lying down. Yeah. Look at all of those scars on this lion's face.
I am doing a little bit of a loop around Quarantine Power Lines, Quarantine South, Philemon's Dip, just looking for dark main to see if there's any update there. We found a big herd of impalas where he was this morning, so I imagine he's gone down, possibly either to the drainage line west of Quarantine or maybe towards Gowrie Dam. We have just bumped into Swazi, coming, looked like, from camp towards where Dark Main was this morning, so I'm doing a little bit of a loop just to see if there is any update around the area, because if there's a hyena around and Dark Main was around, although it is Swazi, maybe he thinks he's a lion today, then it could just be coincidence, but I would think that Swazi is following his scent. Oh, there's an elephant in the darkness. That is amazing. Yeah, I'm using my spotlight on the side to go on the road. Yay, we have some answers for the bird call challenge. Let's hear them. Beautiful. Alright, we'll try and get a nice close view with the infrared light of this elephant. It's fantastic, the sound of your wallet saying it's empty. I recognize that sound very well, but to me that sounds more like tears and sobbing. I like that. Good answer. Hello, boy. He's sniffing us, giving us a little bit of attitude. Linda, you think it's a mockingbird. We don't get mockingbirds here, unfortunately, but it would make sense if it were one. Oh, Veli, you're close. A Corey bustard. Definitely correct family. Very, very, very close. Amazing. This elephant feels so relaxed.
Can you...
All right, indeed. Ah, there we go. It sounds like quite a few people gave the answer of black-bellied bustard, and that is exactly what it is. A black-bellied bustard. Sounds a bit like a bubble popping, similar to a bubbling casino. Absolutely gorgeous bird. Looks a bit like an ostrich to me, but yes, bustard family, absolutely correct. Well done. I feel like a few people got it right. But I think my favorite answer of the day is definitely the sound of my wallet telling me it's empty. To me, that's definitely more of a sobbing, sniffing kind of sound. But I get it. Oh, goodness. Thank you, everybody. That was a good one. I'm going to try and think of a nice, tricky one tomorrow. I think that would be fun. A tricky bird call. Our elephant has moved off into the night. It's so nice and cool here. I think I'd also hear if I was an elephant. Oh, I can smell shield bugs. So I don't know if you know what shield bugs are, everybody, but it's a small little black, looks like a beetle, but it's a bug. And it's part of the stink bug family. And they smell interesting, to put it nicely. Very interesting. And unfortunately, there are many of them around at the moment. If you're not concentrating, you'll think it's a peppercorn in your food. Alas, it is a shield bug, and it tastes quite bad. But it smells bad too, and when we're driving at night, they're attracted to the spotlight. And they tend to hit you in the face and fall down your shirt. And for any women out there, you know what I'm talking about. It's a bit of a complicated issue to try and get it out. Too many places to hide. And yes, they do smell quite bad. I've got one in my hair now. That's wonderful, stuck between my hair and my glasses. And they smell so bad. It's going to be very interesting to try and get that smell out. Okay, let us see what else we can find. Every time I drive on this road, I'm always hoping for a little last minute leopard or a last minute lion, last minute dark mane. It would be wonderful. Maybe we'll get to hear him roaring if we find him now. But I do have a feeling he may have gone down to the Gowrie Dam side. This is known as one of the bumpier roads on Chuma. Not because it's particularly bad, but the elephants have been through here a lot when it's been wet. And so unfortunately what that does is creates a lot of little small holes in the road that you can't really see so well. You can see them a lot better at night because the spotlight creates a shadow. But in the day, you struggle to see them quite a bit. Maybe we'll bump into Swazi again. Wendy, you smell like burning rubber today. Chitty chitty bang bang representing. Amazing how we've looped back to Chalamba. This is actually also where we've seen her. Myself and Rexon found her somewhat in this drainage line too, on my right hand side. Today has been quite Chalamba centric in my mind. I love it. Remembering her fondly.
Okay, so we moved away from those lines. They were continuing south towards Gowrie Main, so we left them to their own devices. Let's just hope that during the night they make a U-turn and come back. So I'm going to go, I hope we've got time. We're driving up Philemon's Dip now, but I found out from Tess, she sent a message saying that the line was actually on Quarantine Road, but east of Philemon's Dip, so the road down towards Gowrie Dam. But I'm pretty sure that road's been covered by people this afternoon, but let's just go and cast a spotlight down there. It would be so epic to finish with Darkmane just roaring down the road. Thank you, Toe, for holding your breath on our behalf. But when are you coming to join us on a drive so you can feel what it's like to have them walking right behind you? We might have a Morgan finish. Do you all remember when Morgan said Darkmane was going to roar during the closing credits? And he was like perfectly on cue. Well, there's 7 million impala here. Well, they're all looking. I just want to listen quickly. Yo. All of these impala look like they're looking one way, but I did see lights of a vehicle. I'm pretty sure Tess is somewhere over there. Yeah, there's a vehicle there. I'm going to laugh so much if Darkmane's lying here somewhere. just look over the edge here. Oh, I can't claim too much tracking there. We just drove back towards the last place and we're lucky enough to just see the tracks, to see the lions lying in the road. I don't think Dark Mane is here. I'm just going to find a spot to turn around. But thank you very, very much for everybody who joined us this afternoon. It was so epic having all your comments and questions from JP, Tess and myself. We just want to say thank you and come back tomorrow morning and we'll do it all again. Just see him go.